Good evening and welcome to the Day of the Dead celebration. Today, November the 2nd, what a beautiful and glorious festival, tradition, celebration. De la Muertes, the Day of the Dead. Absolutely fantastic. And I'm excited to bring this celebration, this day to you. I learned a lot about this tradition. And I have to say that before we dive deep in, let us just take a moment and gather in prayer, gather in celebration, gather in harmony. Let's see what we have here going on. So right now, we lift our hearts, we lift our spirits, we lift our voice into this divine and unique emanation of spirit, celebrating this opportunity to recognize all that there is, all that there can be, and the evolution of the soul, the evolution of spirit that continues on, the evolution of life. So with that, we take this moment to settle into prayer. I love the music. The music is filled with this intensity of the unknown. It is filled with the possibility. My voice is disappearing. Let's see if I get closer in. This opportunity to, how's my voice now? Okay. This opportunity to expand who and what we are. This opportunity to expand consciousness as we know it and to go beyond what we have thought was life and death. One of the things that I learned from this divine celebration is the celebration of beyond, of what's to come, of what's possible, what's out there. So let us take this breath in this moment and breathe into the infinite possibilities of a soul. A soul that is without structure, a soul that is without body, but a soul that is a vibrational energy that moves in and through each of us, that exists beyond what we know it to be. That is within this divine veil between what we call life and death. I look forward to the day that we can move our consciousness beyond this expression of what we call death into the expression of an ever-living, effervescent, ever-eternal spirit of life. So with this, I just give thanks and praise for this moment and this time and this celebration to come together with you to honor love, to honor life, to honor all that is. They say to give is love, until you give your love. There's nothing more you can do. Love is the opening door. Love is what we came here for. No one could offer you more. Do you know what I mean? Have your eyes really seen? They say it's very hard to leave the life you once knew, until you give your all. There's nothing more we can do. Freedom's the flame we must burn. Truth is the flame we must learn. Love the answer we give. Do you know what I mean? Have your eyes really seen? Do you know what I mean? Have your eyes really seen? True. The truth of life is the flame that we are burning within each of us. We have come here to express this divine truth, and so as we begin to learn that truth is not one solid way, but it is an absolute eternal way that is constantly expressing, is a truth that is constantly expressing through each and every one of us. And so that truth will not be one independent way, but what that truth will always be is a higher expression of what we can all be. And in that, love, 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 love. It is the love that you and I are. It is the love that we seek. It is the love that we divine to express. It is love. So with that, I am very excited to share tonight's gathering with you, Day of the Dead. And first, let me just play a video for you.
What is the Day of the Dead? The Day of the Dead is the English name for the Mexican festival Dia de los Muertos. It is a holiday that honors loved ones who are no longer alive. It's celebrated in Mexico, Ecuador, Guatemala, and other areas in Central and South America, specifically those with a Latino background. Similarly, it is also celebrated in areas of the United States and around the world where there are larger Latino populations. When is the Day of the Dead? The first day is on the same day as Halloween, October 31st. Some believe that the gates of heaven open up at midnight on this day. The second day, November 1st, is when the spirits of the deceased children visit. The third day, November 2nd, is when the spirits of adults visit. What is the history of the Day of the Dead? The history of Dia de los Muertos dates back thousands of years, originating in Mesoamerica. In ancient Mexico, the indigenous Nahua group believed that when someone passed away, they entered the land of the dead. During their observances, food and other symbolic items were offered to help and guide the deceased on their journey to their final resting place. These ceremonial practices are considered the roots of the festivities we see during the Day of the Dead holiday today. How do people celebrate Day of the Dead? Surprisingly, the Day of the Dead is not a sad time, but a time of rejoicing and memories. It's a fiesta of flowers, food, candles, parades, prayer, and fun. Sometimes, parades are held where people dress up as skeletons and wear elaborate costumes and masks. People create altars to honor the deceased. The altars are a space to remember loved ones and to light candles to guide the spirits. Some altars have different levels to represent the stages a soul has to take on their journey between heaven and earth. Altars can include pictures of the deceased person, items that they liked, something to eat, candles, flowers, and gifts. Candles are lit during the afternoon at altars and grave sites to burn all evening. The light of the candles guides the way for souls. The final thing added to the altar is incense, which is a perfumed white smoke thought to attract the souls of those who have gone. During the Day of the Dead, special bread is eaten. This bread represents the souls of those who have passed on. The loaves are sometimes baked in the shape of skulls or round and decorated with bones. The bread is often decorated with brightly colored icing or seeds, which represent happiness in some areas of Mexico. Also, skeletons are a popular image during Day of the Dead celebrations. Not only are skeletons seen in decorations, but also in sweets, chocolates, and toys. The toys and dolls are used to introduce children to the idea of death so that they're not afraid of it. Often you can see them grinning because they are laughing at death. They are even shown as musicians or on horseback to show a joyful afterlife. Turn and talk. What would be your favorite part of the Day of the Dead celebration? Why? For more resources on the Day of the Dead, head to twinkle.com.
What a sweet video to introduce those that aren't familiar with Day of the Dead and also give some background. So let me just jump into it. One of the things that I think is so beautiful about Day of the Dead, De los Muertos, the celebration, is that it is a celebration of life and love. And this culture, the Mexican culture stemming from the Aztecs, before the Spaniards came to colonize the Mexican people in Mexico, this celebration has always been one about celebrating the life of the loved ones. And one of the things that's kind of cool, when the Spaniards came in and took over and wanted to colonize the Mexican people, they stripped away all the pagan gods. And so with that was some of the traditions, but this managed to stay because the Spaniards took away the pagan gods and put churches in place of that, and to try and honor that deity. So you have this thing where the Spaniards have come in, and they're bringing in really the Catholic religion. And the Mexicans have been dealing with a pagan religion, the Mexicans, the Aztecs, the El Salvadorians, all of this Latin expression of how they celebrate life and how they honor the spirit. So initially, when the Spaniards come in, the, what was it, All Souls Day was in May. and it was honoring the souls of those that had gone before. But a great deal of this culture was not participating in that. And so you had another pope that came in and changed the day of All Souls Day to November the 1st. Now, the Day of the Dead starts at midnight on October the 30th, um, Halloween. And most people think that it has something to do with Halloween, but it does not. It is two totally separate things. But this Pope moved All Souls Day from May to November. The Day of the Dead starts October the 30th or October the 31st, depending on which Halloween starts on. So like October the 31st this year started the Day of the Dead. November the 1st, which another pope from the Catholic religion created All Saints Day. All Saints Day was to honor all the saints and the martyrs that had gone forth that day. Not that day, but had been baptized and gone forth. So move the day from All Souls Day to November the 1st. Day of the Dead starts at midnight on the 30th or the 31st. So this year we had 31 days in October, so the 31st. And then November the 2nd is the end of the Day of the Dead, which brings about the celebration of its conclusion. And so what the Catholic Church did was move All Souls Day to November the 2nd. So what we have is this meshing of spiritual culture, spiritual traditions, and spiritual celebrations. So all of that haze being done, one of the things that I love about Day of the Dead is that it is a celebration. I was raised with a Catholic background. My grandmother was Baptist. But our celebration of people that made their transition was one of very somber. And it does not say that the Hispanic Mexican community does not mourn their loss. But what it does speak to is a realization of understanding that the life of the soul lives on, that the body is released, but the soul lives on. And with the soul living on, those that are still here on this planet, in this orbit, can connect with them during this celebration. And I feel that so much that sometimes we mourn the loss of someone to such a degree that we forget to live. We stop existing, we stop thriving, we stop expressing. And also, what you find in this culture, in this celebration, is that children, for the most part, are not afraid. Even though looking from the outside, when you see the skeleton fixtures and pictures, you would think, oh, that has to scare the children. But it does not. The original picture, kind of the illustration was around the 1900, the La Catina. And what she represents, that skeleton face represents, it's a mocking of when the European people came in and took over the Mexican culture, and that it was mocking the Mexican people to not lose your culture, not to become the European woman or the European person. And so when you see the skeleton, you know, I love the whole idea that it's politicized, it's satire. It is this comical, this comical understanding of what life and death can be. This um, this realization that there's no need to be afraid of death. And even though, as I was researching this, is not necessarily centered in on as death as it is in the afterlife. There's no need to have fear of that. There was a beautiful quote that I had that I forgot to put up, but in essence, it states that the beauty of life, the essence of life, is forever. And we need not fear that it can be taken away. That's so powerful. I love that. It's so powerful. So let us dive into this celebration, because I've seen it from afar, but this is my first time really being embraced within it and understanding what it's all about. The celebration is filled with so much love and light. It's really quite an amazing thing. And so as the Day of the Dead, it is literally, death is the great equalizer, the dance with the death. They mock life in a sense that there is no sense to be afraid of the afterlife. It should be celebrated. It should be recognized. And so these beautiful altars that are built either in the home or at your business. One thing that I did not know, if I love action movies, and so I think it was in The Golden Eye, the 007 movie. There's a scene that he is a part of this big festival that's a Day of the Dead, which they did not have completely like this, but there's the big skeleton heads and people are out. It's like carnival. It is a day of celebration. It is a day of love, and it is a time of family to come together. We as Americans can take hold to some of this to recognize that this fear and dread that has been put on death, the afterlife, for me, the evolution of life, that this is something that we all must do. Doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter how many people you know, doesn't matter if you're famous, if you have power, doesn't matter if you're poor, doesn't matter if nobody knows you. We all have this experience being the one of the evolution of us moving through life, moving through, leaving this physical body and shifting into a different energy, shifting back, as some would say, back into the original state of which we are, to the I am presence that we are, whether you believe that or not. This is something that we all have in common. It doesn't matter what culture you come from. It doesn't matter what language you speak. We all share this. And so what I love about recognizing the Day of the Dead is that this celebration is so beautiful, and it is steeped in family awareness of celebrating life, of celebrating love, and remembering to remember those that you love. There are many times that people are so shut down and cut off from those that have moved on, those that have released the body and shifted into a different expression. That there's no conversation, there is no joy around the life that they lived. In this celebration, there's much joy about the life that this person lived, no matter how long or how short. The movie Coco, from Disney. I don't know if you've seen it. Really fantastic movie. It is a movie about the Day of the Dead and the celebration of the Mexican culture, the Aztecs, the Spaniards, this tradition of celebrating life. It's kind of like the satire, the Day of the Dead, but it's not one that is mourned. It is one that is celebrated, and they do everything to create an environment, whether you believe or not that the the um, the spirits can come back or not, but they do everything within the family to create this environment to welcome back the spirit. Because, as I say, welcome back, there's a belief that the spirit does not die. There is no death, there's only the afterlife. And so, at this point in time of the year, you can coexist, you can participate. The veil that is between the afterlife and us is very sheer and lifted. So I know that gives a lot of question for some people. If you believe that life is eternal, or if you believe that once the body is committed to the ground, that's it. I do not. I've never believed that. I believe um, that life, the soul lives on. But whether you believe that or not, here's one of the most beautiful things that I think for anyone has suffering with releasing a loved one, a pet, um, a family member, a friend, a husband, a wife, a child. Here, here's one of the things that I think is so beautiful, because I believe in any one of those particular situations, the spirit of that person, animal, is present. And I believe that we can feel it. And I believe when we open our hearts up in a way that allows us to accept that spirit, doesn't mean that it's coming back to life, but just that you can tap into that energy. You can tap into that moment with them. Um, I remember when my little dog made his transition, Spike. I had Spike for 15 years. He traveled with me. He was very much a big part of my life. And releasing him, like releasing my mother, and not that I'm comparing the two, was very big. Was very big. And both of them, I have to say that I have had times that I have felt their spirit, be it, sometimes my mother smoked. There are times that I can walk into a room that nobody is smoking, and I can smell cigarette smoke, and it just makes me smile. It does not mean that's what she's doing now, but it's how I can relate to her on this on this planet. There have been little dogs when I'm out walking that Spike used to do a certain thing with me when he would greet me. And I've had a couple of dogs that have done that remind me instantly of him. So I say to you that the spirit of life, I do believe that the spirit of life is constant and it is evolving, never ending. Whether you believe that or not, open your heart to the possibility to feel that loved one, be it a pet or a person that has made their transition, to feel the possibility of connecting with them. Just to feel that possibility. So let me get into some of the things that I thought were really, really beautiful about the Day of the Dead. So there's an altar that is created. It could be created in your home or your business, more than not in your home, because the whole family participates in bringing this altar together. And once again, let me just say this, that the celebration of life helps young ones, our little ones, not look at life as um, with fear. And you can release someone, absolutely, mourn the loss of them, but to fear death, I think in the American culture, we have a fear of death, which is really almost, I don't want to say ridiculous, but it is because nobody's gotten out alive. Nobody's gotten out with this body. This body we do release this body, but the spirit of this body, I believe, does live on. So one of the things I love about this and the way they mock death with the skeleton, that the La Catrina stems from them saying to their culture, recognize who you are and what you believe. Do not uh, uh, patronize the European way of being. Recognize the loved ones that you have, that you love, that you do. And so the altar is very important within the family. The house is clean or the business is clean. The house is really clean and prepared so that you can create the altar. The altar is at least, it's a multi-level, 2 to 3 different levels, and it represents the afterlife, earth, and heaven, depending on where your belief is. But it represents this journey that the celebration, you're bringing these souls back into this existence to experience with you. Um, but so here's the tweak. You're bringing the essence of the spirit of the loved one that you had, to remember them, to remember who they are, to cherish. And so the altar a lot of times is built with things, food that they loved. Um, on this altar, they always had marigolds, the marigold flower, which represented um, the light, the death of light. Um, Also, let's see here. I just lost my. Oh, I thought this was really cool. So there's the flowers. They also made beautiful food, tamales, the mole, that the family, the recipes of the family, pictures. There was certain food that they particularly liked or loved. And the candles, there were candles lit on each level of the altar. And so the candles, I want to read this. I thought this was so cool. The light of the candle wax symbolize Jesus Christ, faith being reborn. And along with that, they would have salt water, which was to quench the thirst of the soul returning. And so when you look at all these things, salt and water, salt comes from the sea. It is the natural essence of earth that is a stabilizer, that grounds us. This beautiful thing, the wax from the candle, I just thought that how beautiful was that, because when a candle is lit, and of course the light is to guide the way for us, but when a candle is lit, the wax dripping is a constant. It is a constant thing. And so for me, I was like, wow, the spirit of life is absolutely constant. It is always participating in and through each of us. And so this is a visual of this absolute, that we are divinely connected, that we are forever participating with the presence and soul of the universe. So I thought that was really, really super cool. And so the Day of the Dead, this was another thing that I thought was really so beautiful. The Day of the Dead celebration ends at the annual end of the monarch butterfly migration to Mexico. So you see this, I don't know if you've ever been um, surrounded by butterflies when the migration of them just filtrates an area. I experienced it in Seattle, and I actually experienced it in, um, um, oh, I just lost, I was up in the mountains. But it is incredible to see it. It's like thousands of butterflies. You can't even count. I, 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 I was afraid to open my mouth because I thought I would swallow a butterfly. It is unbelievable. So on November the 2nd, the end of the annual migration of the monarch butterfly is happening, and they believe that that is the souls of the children coming back to spread love and joy throughout. And it is one of the most amazing and beautiful things when I experienced, and for me, I just was overwhelmed by butterflies. I did not have this other nugget, whether you believe it or not, but to be a part of experiencing nature when it is so vast and so overwhelming in its beauty, to stand and be a part of that is awe-dropping. It's amazing to be in that experience as you are being just infiltrated with all of this beauty and love and light that's all around you. You feel the essence of whatever you call spirit. You feel the essence of light, the divine joy of life dancing through you. I thought that was really, really, really beautiful. Um, there are so many things in our world that the timing, when it begins, when it ends, it's not by chance. There are things that have been orchestrated to move things into a place that help facilitate this divine essence of life that is constantly expanding through each of us. And so in this celebration of Day of the Dead, I just thought, how amazing is that we are participating in that all of the universe is participating in this divine moment and space. It just really, it makes you think. And so one of the other things that you'll see that the cut paper, they're banners that you see on a lot of different Day of the Dead celebrations. You see them everywhere. This is a big part of the tradition that started with the Aztecs. They cut out symbols and shapes through cloth back when during the Aztecs time, and so it is very much a part of the tradition. And what it represents is air. It, the, the cutout of the paper is so light, it represents the air that we are all connected to, the air that is the breath of life through each of us. One of the things I find that's so amazing when we look at a tradition like this is that everything symbolizes something. Everything. The fact that it is multi-layered, the fact that there are candles and the marigolds, the flowers and the candles, everything, the food, the pictures, everything has a reason. It's not just to garnish something. And then on top of that, what really caps out the beauty of this festival, the beauty of this celebration, is that the families go to the cemetery. After you've created the altar at home. You've invited the soul to come back to the home, and you feel that that period of time, that essence has taken place. After that, the family and sometimes the friends go to the cemetery. Now, the cemeteries have been prepared as well. They have been adorned with flowers. They have any weeds and anything have been cleaned away. There are pictures and there are once again candles because the Jesus Christ faith being reborn. The candles are there. And then the families and friends come together of those loved ones and they celebrate them through stories. They share stories about this person, or it could be about their animal. They share songs that they sing together. They come together and celebrate the spirit that lives on, not the loss of a body that they can no longer reach out and touch, but they celebrate the spirit that lives on. It lives on through them. It lives on through the conversations and the stories that they share. It lives on through the songs. It lives on through the food that they share. It lives on through the flowers. And one of the things I failed to mention was also, so you have the candle that is the light. You have the flower that is the life of the dead. And you have the cutout that is the air. You also have the incense. They have incense that they light on the altar that is the fragrance of the beauty of spirit that sends prayers to the heavens. How great is that? So the incense are lifted with the prayers that are being said around the altar to lift those prayers up into the heavens. Everything about this celebration is so beautiful. And for our little ones, for our young ones, it embraces them in a way that they see life from a very beautiful and loving space. There's not a fear of death. There is a love of life. There is a love of celebrating the life of those that they love. Will there be missing? Will you miss ones that you love? Of course. But you will not settle into a place of darkness. There are a lot of things about the Day of the Dead that appear to look dark, but it is not. It is filled with so much light and fun and poking fun. They are making fun. It's really quite amazing that at the cemetery, it is lavishly decorated, and all of the families gather around. So you have this space that everyone is welcome into. Unlike a lot of times in the cemeteries and things that I have experienced, there's a darkness, there's a sadness. This brings about so much love and light. So much. Day of the Dead, De los Muertos, is the celebration of life and love. So as we celebrate this day, whether you recognize it or not, I believe that this divine energy, that this magnificent culture, this awareness that is awakening us to celebrate those that we release to a higher awareness, to celebrate the spirit that is still very much alive within us, to release the grief and mourning of someone, but to celebrate the life by sharing the stories, singing the songs, eating the food, recognizing the pictures, not to keep them alive in the day to day, but to come together at a time and recognize that this spirit, this essence, this presence the body has been left, but the spirit has moved on. I do believe that in this American culture, that we must learn to have another way of expressing and celebrating those that make the transition. It's a part of life. So the fear that we've created around it, the dread that we've created around it, it does not support the love and light that is that one that has moved on. It only stifles us in letting go. Let me see if I can find this quote because I thought it was so beautiful. We'll see if I can find it before. No, that's not it right there. I thought that was it. All right, so, there we go. Maybe this is it here. I'm not sure. My gizmo gadget is having to do a lot of things. Let's see here. All right, I don't think I'm able to actually find the exact quote. But I will say this. It is a joy to have taken this journey for the Day of the Dead, to recognize that this culture, this tradition of celebrating life and love is one that we can all participate in. Not that we have to do it this way, but to start to open up our consciousness, to lift that veil of mourning, to lift the veil of loss, to lift the veil that loss is a totality, and to possibly open ourselves up to a living, divine expression of the soul. So with that, I want to thank you for being present with me tonight. I thank you, Universal Spirit Center, for all that you do, for the divine light and love that you are, and for the givingness that you are. I am knowing, let's see.
I hold you in my heart. Eres la cara del amor. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God.
I thank you for everything that you do.
You are the face.
You can support us online. You can go to our webpage. You are a divine expression of all that we do. You are a light because you are a heart of givingness. And we are so blessed to have you. So, with that, I thank you for sharing this night with us, for being present, for continuing to hang in there as we grow and expand. There are a lot of things that we try on Wednesday to expand our production, to expand that which we are. And in all of that, your love and givingness to Universal Spirit Center helps us continue to expand our platform online, helps us to expand our awareness in person, and it helps us to be a greater gift in life. So I thank you for being here. Thank you for the light and love that you are. These are the many different ways that you can donate to Universal Spirit Center. Thank you, Universal Spirit Center. Peace and blessings.